if you were one of those few people that was fearing that the new CBA was not going to be renewed and that we could potentially heading into a lockout season into the 25th season in MLS, well, you do not have to fear anymore, because today it was announced that MLS and MLS Players Association have agreed on a new collective bargaining agreement, and that this CBA is going to run through the 2024 season. And I actually have the exact detail of this new CBA on my phone. And also, as promised, I am gonna do like a reaction video to this. And then, I did read through it earlier this morning. They actually announced it very early this morning, and I kind of had to make a decision whether or not should I do a video so early in the morning where I'm just kind of very cranky and I want to just go to work, but I want to do this video first about the CBA before I go to work, or do I wait until the evening? Well, you probably already know what my decision is, knowing the fact that it is pretty much dark outside, and you can even see on the clock, it's right now 7:04 p.m., not a.m. that is. So I decided to do this right after I got off work. But this new CBA, as I said, it's going to run through to the 2024 season, and it's going to be expiring on January 31st, 2025. And the first thing they said is that they're going to increase investment in player spending, also known as they are going to increase the salary cap. So right now, I believe the salary cap is around $4 million, and that they are going to, if I can see, do they tell me when are they going to increase? Oh, they're going to increase around $6 million in terms of the salary cap. So every single year from now to 2024, they're going to increase the salary cap by $300,000. They're going to raise the spending power per club every year from $8,490,000 in 2019 to $11,643,000 in 2024. And the spending power and the money that I just listed include the salary cap, the general allocation money, and the discriminatory TAM money that each club, of course, had, and that's basically the total amount of that. Now, in addition, the minimum annual salary for senior roster player will increase each season to $109,200 in 2024. Right now, I think the minimum salary is at $51,000. So in 5 years, we're actually going to be doubling in terms of the minimum salary, which is definitely good, because I know the MLS Player Association want to increase the minimum salary that teams, of course, have to pay to their player. And I think if I do the math correctly, they're going to increase the minimum annual salary for players on the roster around $10,000 every single year until 2024, when it's going to be at $109,200. The second thing that they mentioned is that they're going to have a greater salary budget flexibility across the roster. So I guess this is something to do with the whole TAM and GAM situation. During the last 3 MLS season, club were provided additional $1.2 million per season in target allocation money, which is TAM, to be used for acquisition and retention of players within a specific salary budget. Under the new CBA, $1.2 million per season has been converted to GAM. So basically now, I think this is what they're saying, is that now MLS has started to kind of move a little bit away from the whole TAM situation and want to have more team gets like general allocation money, which from what I heard, it is a good thing that teams can get more general allocation money, because they can, of course, spend that on players, and that it's a very complicated kind of rule in terms of the difference between TAM and GAM, and that there is kind of a slight disadvantage of teams using TAM compared to if they were going to use a transfer and you're going to use general allocation money to that. I'm not going to really explain it because I actually don't know the rules very well. If you want to know exactly how that works, you could maybe listen to the Extra Time podcast that MLS provide and let those experts kind of try to explain that rule, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people, and even a fan like myself, don't even know most about this GAM and TAM situation, and that this is kind of one of, I guess, maybe the difficult situation of following MLS, where some of the rules that they have in terms of what you can sign and what you cannot sign is so complicated that it's no wonder why a lot of people, when they first start watching this league, they're kind of getting confused on what the heck is GAM and TAM, and what in the world is the difference between that. And, the salary cap situation, does that mean that, teams will have to follow that salary cap if they don't want to sign any players that is going to be a designated player? I mean, it just gets very confusing, and I'm probably not the best guy to explain that rule, because I'm still kind of trying to learn about these rules as we get along. But yeah, they're gonna do away in terms of TAM, and that if I actually look at here's more information. So it looks like right now, let's see, charges and year gammon performance bonus. Yeah, so right now it seemed like TAM is actually going to be going down. Right now, the maximum discretionary TAM is at $2.8 million. It's going to go down to $2.125 million by 2024. And general allocation money, which is right now at $1.525 million, will now go up to around $3 million heading into 2024. Let's see what other thing we have. Players to share in media revenue. For the first time, players spent per club will increase increase revenue generated by MLS new media agreement. Yeah, I'm not even gonna talk about that, because I don't exactly know what that really mean, and I don't think it has a lot to. It's not going to really affect in terms of how team is going to sign players. Increase in charter flight. So this was one of the big topics that I think a lot of people talk about heading into this new CBA. I have heard a lot of players and fans demand MLS to increase the charter flight, and I even hear some people say that MLS teams should have their own charter flight, and that every team should be able to, like, it's kind of a little bit bush league in terms of MLS being one of the only professional league here in the US where teams don't actually offer charters flight for every single away games that teams play. And I understand why MLS are not going to allow teams to have like charters flight for every single game, because the logistics size of that is still kind of a little bit complicated, and it's also very expensive too. I mean, the NFL itself, they are also one of those kind of league that is having some problem in terms of the whole charter flight logistics stuff. So MLS is kind of one that they're gonna probably eventually going to reach a stage where they are going to get every single team to kind of have like charters flight for every away games that they're going to do. But right now, since the logistics side is a little bit of a problem, and they're not at that stage where they can probably afford it, that's why they decided to not going to let every single team to have to charter to away game every single time this season. But it is increasing, as it says here that clubs will be required to use charter flight for 8 legs of travel during 2020 regular season. That was something that I think I actually saw in the comment section and also on Reddit, that people were kind of confused, when they said that they're going to require to use charter flight for 8 legs of travel during 2020 regular season, and that it's also going to be growing to 16 legs for 2024 season. So by 2024, pretty much every single team will have to have their players to be on charter flight almost half of the time this season, and actually pretty much almost every single game, because half of the season is basically going to be teams going to be going away. So basically I think 2024 is the timeline when they actually are going to make every single team to be chartering their players to play in away games for every single game of the season. But as I said, there was some confusion in terms of the comment section and also in terms of the Reddit talk about, well, it says they were required to use charter flight for up to 8 legs, but does that mean clubs have to do that? I mean, am a little bit confused with that too, with the way that, they said that it's required to do it, but does that mean that each team can have to do it and that each team have to provide charter flight for their players at least 8 away games this season? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it is. In the previous CBA had the discretion but not to requirement to charter up to 4 legs per season. Wait, hold on a second. In the previous CBA, clubs have the discretion but not the requirement to charter up to 4 legs per season. So I'm guessing maybe that kind of sum up like the confusion where in the previous CBA, each club are allowed to charter to 4 away games and allow their players to take a charter flight to away games up to 4 times. And now it seemed like under this new CBA, MLS is forcing teams to have to charter 8 games for their player to go to the away game, or at least I think that's how they mean. I mean, it's going to be, let me see, is there any other thing that they mentioned? In addition, club will be required to use charter air travel for all MLS Cup playoff match and CONCACAF Champions League game involving international travel. I was kind of surprised that MLS did not make the rule where for all the playoff games, every single team will have to charter their flight because, for playoff games, especially now under this new format where playoff games is just gone super fast, you definitely need teams to have like charter flight to provide them to go to another city to play an away game. And this mostly applies to teams that is in the lower seed where they're going to be on the road pretty much for every single game and that they need to, of course, do a quick turnaround. That's why charter flight are more efficient than if you would have done a non-charter flight. But I'm kind of surprised MLS haven't done that and that it's only introduced right now in this new CBA agreement. Expand free agency. The eligibility criteria for free agency has been expanded, include players who are 24 years older and have 5 years of service in MLS. And in the previous CBA, it was 28 years old with 8 years of service. So they lowered down the age of which player can be going to free agency, and it's now down to 24 years old. The CBA also include caps on the increase in compensation in free agent contract. In addition, player making above maximum salary budget, including designated player, will now also be eligible for free agency. So we could actually see designated player end up in the free agency market, and if somebody decided to snatch them off the free agency, they might be, I'm guessing they probably won't pay the DP amount of money to the previous team that let them go as a free agent. So that's kind of very interesting. There's a new under 22 player initiative. Beginning in 2021, MLS will have a discretion to allow clubs to sign up to 3 players who are 22 or old or younger on a reduced charge to a club salary budget. So what I'm thinking is that, MLS is basically encouraging teams to sign more under 22 players, and that if you're going to sign these free under 22 players, you can of course get a reduced kind of salary. And that I think what an example of that is that if you sign free 22 years old player and you're paying them like $80,000, and instead of $240,000 off that salary that is going to be into the cap, from what this is saying is that it's going to be reduced and that it's not going to be $240,000. And they didn't say exactly how much of a reduced charge it is, so I'm guessing it could be like 20-30%. But either way, I think this is a rule that clearly MLS is trying to implement so that more teams can sign either homegrown player that is under 22 or sign more international player that is under 22. Speaking of international player, there is no mention here under this new CBA that the international rule is going to be different. So once again, we're going to have the international rule where each team can only have 8 player on the international roster, unless if they were able to acquire either an international roster from one of the team, or they of course gave away one of their international roster to another team. The designated player spot. Ooh, this is another one that was a hot topic. Clubs will continue to have the rights to sign up to free designated player in the new CBA. The league will have the rights to limit the compensation for the third DP to the maximum TAM salary unless the player is 23 years old or younger, in which case there will be no limit. And I know there was a lot of rumors coming into this new collective bargaining agreement talking about the DP rules, and that I heard there was a rumor they were going to make one of the DPs, and that you have to sign a player that is under 23. And it seemed like now they actually talk about the new DP rule and how they're not going to just force teams to have to sign a player that is under 23 as their third DP spot. I think that's kind of a good news for most of these teams, because imagine if every team have like free DP spot and one of them you have to sign a player that is under 22. I mean, that's put even more restriction in terms of the amount of DP player that you can sign. And I understand why the MLS want to try to do that, because they want to encourage teams to sign younger DP, but not every team likes to do that, and every team wants to sign some of the best player either down in South America or some of those players that they feel like it's recognized as a DP kind of player. And under this new rule, they could potentially not be, well, under what it was rumored to be the new rule, they probably wouldn't allow to do that unless that third DP is 23-year old or younger. And what's interesting about this, some people also kind of talk about this in the comment section and on Reddit. It says the league will have the rights to limit the compensation for the third designated player to the maximum TAM salary. So basically, the league does have the rights where if they see a team sign this third DP player and they feel like they can limit the compensation to reduce to a TAM salary, they can do exactly that. The question is, are they going to actually implement that rule, and what does that actually mean when they have the rights to limit the compensation? I mean, it's very general and it's not very specific, so I'm guessing maybe if we do see this kind of effect, we can get a better idea of what this means. But right now, they basically just kind of flat out saying, well, we have the rights to limit, like if you sign a DP player and that's your third designated player on your roster, we can have the rights to reduce him to a TAM salary, which will of course count into your total spending and into your salary cap. And it's kind of a little bit dark and gray of which player we can choose, but we can choose any player at any time of when a team decide to sign a third DP. So I hope they can be a little bit more specific of that, and maybe if we're going to have a situation that does in play, we might get a better understanding how it is. Although at the same time, if that does happen, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be complaining about this and saying that, well, it wasn't being specific. And then some people even might compare to the other DP signing that other team made, where MLS then had to step in to try to limit the compensation of that player to a maximum TAM salary. So yeah, in some way, I kind of want to see how that is affected. But if it does affect it, it's gonna be kind of a little bit of a shit show in terms of people reacting to this news and feel like it's just completely unfair. But either way, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this new collective bargaining agreement, and what do you think of all the things that have changed in this new CBA? But as I said before, the good news is there is going to be a season this year, and that we are going to have the 25th season of MLS and celebrating the 25th anniversary of MLS heading into these next couple of weeks. I mean, I understand there were a couple of people that were still very nervous, the fact that there's going to be a lockout, and I even said that I'm pretty sure 99.9% sure that MLS PA and MLS is going to eventually reach agreement with this new CBA, and especially last week when it was supposed to be the deadline of this new CBA, and that they even report said that the only reason why we want to extend this into to another week is that there's still some gray area that we kind of want to explain, but right now it's going well and that we're getting very close in terms of reaching that agreement, and that's when we probably know that this deal is going to reach, and barring any kind of catastrophic kind of collapse in some of the deal under the CBA, we knew that this agreement was eventually going to reach today. But either way, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this new CBA? But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.